thanks so much for getting up early with us this morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
I have to ask you, first of all, based on what we just saw, the touchdown celebrations have been such a big part of celebrating getting into the end zone this season. How much time, effort, and minutes go into that? How long did it take you guys to perfect the electric slide, nail it, and then go out there and do it?
I mean, I've been doing the electric slide for years at cookouts, family functions, weddings. So, we can break that out at any point in time. There was no practice or prep put into it. We had a couple guys that wasn't too smooth, though. We got to go check them out this week, make sure they get that right.
Need a little rehearsal. Malcolm, first things first. Yeah. As a former Buckeye, OH.
I.O.
All right. Congratulations for us winning again against that team up north. But let's talk about the Eagles.
Killing them.
What would you, we kill them on the regular. What would you attribute to the success of this team at this point? We know you guys have added a number of veteran players. Peterson is second year, Wentz in his second year. But you being a veteran player, give us some of those things, tangible things that fans don't see that have led to you guys having the best record in the NFL.
I mean, honestly, when you look at it, I think it's the contributions that we've gotten from each player. I mean, we had so many injuries early in the year. We lost Ronald Darby, our starting corner, lost Jordan Hicks, our veteran or our middle linebacker. We dropped a couple guys here or there, and it was one of those things where we lost Darren Sproles, Chris Maragos. These are key players to what we do, but we've been able to plug guys in, and they've played, up to par and even beyond our expectations. Nigel Bradham has been playing good snaps for us. And then you got a bunch of guys that we added in the offseason that have been great contributors with Alshon Jeffries, LeGarrette Blount, added Ajayi in there. And these guys have come in and really stepped our game up. Obviously, the maturation of Carson Wentz has been huge. But really, everybody at every position has been contributing and making plays. And that's what's making it so fun. That's what's making us so dominant, is the depth that we've been able to have, to be able to get through some of those adverse times, especially early. And now as we move throughout the season, guys are getting healthier. We're flying around. We're understanding. We're growing. And we're just having a lot of fun.
Malcolm, when people talk about your defense, they probably point out you guys have the #1 rushing defense in football, or you have a top 3 scoring defense. What stands out to me as most important is you guys also have a top 3 third down defense. And you guys are top 3 in the NFL as far as turnovers forced. Those are the key inflection points of games. What has made you guys so big, so good in the biggest moments?
Well, I think it's what we practice. And that's how we prepare. We want it to be a great run defense. And that's really about attitude. Everybody has a simple scheme. We run a 4-3 defense. Every person has a gap. When the ball's run to your gap, you can't get blown off the ball, and you got to make the tackle. And oftentimes we see teams try to, pack everybody in tight and get the ball on the edge, and our corners come up and tackle better than anybody in this league. And I think that's why you see us at the top of the league in run defense. We put a very big emphasis on third down. We feel like if we can get off of the field and give our offense the ball, that always gives us an advantage. And then the #1 thing about, the team stat is the takeaway turnover margin. And so any chance we get to get the ball, whether that's pressure on the quarterback and you get a strip fumble or you get pressure on the quarterback, balls tipped up in the air, we got to come up with those. And we've been, an advantageous defense up until now. And it's a huge part and the reason we're having success as a team.
Hey, Malcolm, speaking of getting to the quarterback, Sunday night you got a big game in Seattle. Now, I know the Seahawks aren't the team that we all thought they would be, ravaged with injuries and whatnot. Russell Wilson is still those really dangerous quarterbacks who you have to protect, when he's in the pocket, but also he has the ability to go anywhere and do anything. Tell me what kind of challenges that presents to you guys.
I mean, Russell Wilson is one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in this league. His ability to pass from the pocket, but also extend plays and make magic happen. He's been a fun player to watch. It's been well documented, how clutch he is as well when the game's on the line. And that entire team is just well disciplined. They're well coached. They don't mind winning ugly games. They're very, very comfortable in tight games and finishing out in the end. So it's not one of those things that, they've had some injuries, but this team still plays well, and they'll figure a way to overcome that. And he still has, plenty of weapons in Jimmy Graham, Doug Baldwin, who we got a lot of respect for. So we'll have our hands full going on the road in a hostile environment, a primetime game. with Russell Wilson at the helm, we got a lot to get prepared for.
Malcolm, yourself and great defenses, you make a living off of young, inexperienced quarterbacks. You have a great quarterback in Dak in his second year there in Dallas, but your own quarterback. What has Carson Wentz done from year 1 to 2, or what has the staff done that we're starting to see the results that he would be considered the MVP #1 candidate at this point? We know the growth between year 1 and 2 in the league is the biggest growth, but what have you personally seen with Carson?
Well, the biggest thing is when he came in, he was already a gunslinger. Didn't care who the corner was, who the safety was. He's throwing the ball and throwing it down the field. And I thought that was something that we liked about him. He got on the field his first, Sunday and made magic happen. His extending plays, his mobility has been something that's been fun to watch. He came into the league with those two things, the big arm and the ability to extend plays. But I think where he matured into the second season is his decision making. And so now he's not turning the ball over like he did his rookie year. And, his touchdown interception ratio is out of the roof. Plus, you added a couple receivers, a running game with it. It's just making it so much easier for him. And then when we get in some bad binds, he does what he does and extends the play and finds somebody deep down the field. So I think his decision making really has been the biggest jump. But everything else he's had since he stepped foot in the league.
Malcolm, pretend you're just a friend of mine who doesn't play in the NFL and you're just sitting at home watching all the teams evenly and you don't have one team that you're rooting for or anything whatsoever. All that being said, is Carson Wentz the MVP this season?
I mean, I believe so. It's hard to make an argument against him. Just the amount of success that we've been able to have as a team, him being a big reason for that. His statistics, and when you just watch him play, he's just an entertaining player to watch. And, he definitely has my MVP vote.
Malcolm, off the field, or I guess some on the field, you've been one of the leading advocates for criminal justice reform, one of the leading advocates for the NFL players as far as what these protests are actually about. You've talked with legislators, you've talked with police, you've done a lot of important work. For you, how frustrating has it been when you see the coverage of this issue being called an anthem protest as opposed to what the protest actually is about and the work you guys are actually doing?
I mean, that's probably the most frustrating part, is to make the conversation about more than just the anthem and whether it's right or wrong, but the actual reasons and why behind it. But that's kind of the work of the players, to continue to get out in our communities, to continue to advocate for the changes that we want to see, whether it be in our criminal justice system, whether it be in our educational system, or even just being able to have economic advancement in some underserved communities. We have to continue to stand on our platform and continue to speak, continue to draw awareness. And we don't mind doing that. And I think it's one of those things that players have been involved in the communities for a long time, but there's this new awakening of urgency that we need to, right now, while everyone's watching, is to do the work. And that's what people have been waiting for, is to see, one, what are we doing after these protests? Are we backing up our words with deed? And are we providing solutions to actually move forward? And I think we are. We just got to continue to do it until everybody pays attention.
One follow-up, Malcolm. I think I know the answer to this, but I want to give you an opportunity to, spread the word, so to speak. A lot of people who criticize you guys who are protesting, what they say is, what are you mad about? You've made it. You're rich. You're famous. You're living the American dream. Why, despite the fact that you are those things, wealthy, famous, living a great life, has this been something that is so important to you?
I mean, well, you got to realize, I hadn't been in the NFL my entire life. I've been blessed to be in this game for 9 years. But we just had the holiday season. And when I go back to New Jersey to visit my family, they're not in the NFL. And they're still in these same communities, growing up in New Jersey, where the educational system is not that great. There's crime. You can look at other players like Anquan Bolden, whose cousin a couple years ago was shot by and killed by an officer while his car was broke down on the road. My teammate Torrey Smith, his mother being a convicted felon and not being able to get employment, and all of a sudden she had her record expunged, and she goes to making six figures or close to it. So we live these examples and these experiences, long before we ever got in the NFL, and that's spread across the league. Everybody who has these stories, we're still black men once we take our helmets and jerseys off, and these are still communities that we've come from or that we currently go back to, and so it's important to us. It may not affect us on a daily basis, but we have an opportunity to draw attention to, like I said, the communities that we come from, our family members that are still in these communities, and just these American issues in general. These are issues that are affecting our citizens, and as citizens, we feel like we need to make sure we give a voice to those that don't get hurt.
Malcolm, as an alumni of the NFL, you're a guy that makes us all proud. As an alumni of The Ohio State University, you've made the university proud. The College Football Playoff Committee, they're calling you Saturday night. The Buckeyes beat Wisconsin, the Big Ten championship. Do the Buckeyes deserve one of those spots in the Final Four this year, Malcolm Jenkins?
It's hard to say that we deserve it. I think we need to handle business. We need to beat Wisconsin and beat them pretty big, and then we can say we deserve it. But when you lose to a team like Iowa, you lose Oklahoma, and now they'll be in the playoff hopefully. I think we need to make sure that we handle business in this Big Ten championship. If we get a little bit of luck and they choose us over another team, then great. But we definitely gotta take care of some business this week.
All right, Malcolm Jenkins. Malcolm, thank you so much. Good luck in Seattle, and good luck practicing just getting everyone on board with that electric slide. It's very challenging. Some of the moves, I know I don't want you to